So officially, welcome everyone. Yeah, like I said, Glenn and Michael, and maybe some of the other guys. Leo, I think you were on, and Patrick was on last night. You're seeing me 2 days in a row, so hello again. We've been spoiled this week with fantastic drams, and tonight we're tucking into even more. Very excited to have the first tasting for Cut Your Wolf Loose. I am totally gonna
Mm,
tongue tie myself with that name at some point tonight, but I will do my best.
bit of a long one.
It is. But yeah, bottler and bar out of Brighton in the UK. And obviously, we're even luckier to be joined by Hugo, sales manager, who's tuning in from the bar to talk us
As we speak,
these
yeah.
whiskies on a nice sunny afternoon, I suppose, now in Brighton.
Yeah, well, it's 11 a.m. It's a little bit overcast because it is the UK. It's never all full sunshine. There has to be a few
Yeah,
clouds in the sky, but it's good. We had a big dump of rain yesterday, but it's looking like we're getting a bit warmer today, which is nice.
fabulous. Well, before we delve into the drams and I hand it over, I'm just going to go over the housekeeping. You guys have seen our virtual tasting housekeeping video we share in the Zoom link email. It's on our YouTube channel if you ever need a refresher. Goes over the usual pointers of if you have 6 glasses, great. If you don't, that's fine. But don't drink and drive is obviously the important part. We always love to see your tasting notes in the chat, and please pop any questions as well in there. I'm going to quickly go through the tasting order verbally for the people watching back on YouTube. So number 1 is the Aberfeldy, 2 is the Tomatin. I think it's Tomatin, right?
Yeah,
Tomatin. It's like tomato, American
yeah.
tomato. Okay. Number 3 is the Aaron 10-year-old. 4 is the blend number 1 6-year-old. Whiskey number 5 is the Brook 14, and number 6 is the Secret Isla, which is totally Ardbeg 14-year-old. So while everyone gets cracking into that Aberfeldy, I'll hand it over to Hugo to tell us about the bar and the bottling brand and everything involved there.
Yeah, I mean, thanks everyone for grabbing the tasting packs, and I'm really glad we can work out. We sent a bunch of stock down to the whiskey list, and I'm glad we can actually do something like this. It's really exciting. It's my first virtual tasting, which is good fun. I mean, normally I'm running around the country talking to different people in different whiskey bars and stuff like that. But this is really cool to chat to some people on the other side of the world. I grew up in Australia, funny enough. I know my accent's gone, but I went to a boarding school and they beat it out of me over here in England. It's like Hogwarts. But yeah, I grew up in Bowral, just south of Sydney. But now I'm working in whiskey within the UK. Um, I guess a small kind of introduction to what Cut Your Wolf Loose is and who we are. As mentioned, we're an independent bottler, but we're also in the fortunate position where we have a bar as well. Um, so Seb Wolf, the owner, has been dealing in casks for a good 15, 20 years now. And we've had a few different brands. I also sell Artful Dodger, which is our sister brand. But we were kind of fortunate in 2021, just after COVID, we had a position to buy a bar. So we bought the freehold of the building and tore it completely. We gutted it completely. You could stand downstairs and look right up to the ceiling, like to the roof, sorry. And then we kind of decked it out into a bit of a whiskey. It's like a candy shop, really. Um, we've got about 450 open bottles, but what kind of sets us apart from a regular whiskey bar is that, being an independent bottler and also having a cask portfolio of around 750 to 1,000 casks. We also get cask samples in for people to try. So we get a bottle or two down of what we're maturing for people to try within the bar. So I don't think, as far as I'm aware, there's no other bar that does that within the UK. And it's just nice for people to try what we're working on. Not all of it might be like a like full bottling, but for example, we did, what was that? Our fifth release was a Ben Nevis we did. And we had such good feedback from it within the bar that we decided to bottle it. But our kind of approach to kind of set ourselves apart from other indie bottlers, because it is quite a saturated scene over here in the UK, we kind of are taking a bit of a step back and trying to be a bit more approachable. I don't really like this the word accessible within whiskey, because at the end of the day there is value behind it. You still have to buy a bottle, but we get different street artists to do the labels, and we get basically we're kind of changing it this year, but essentially every bottling we've done, we've always done artwork on the back of the wall. For those of you, I mean, now that I'm actually in the bar, I might be able to show you guys, but we've actually got the artwork. If you guys have been familiar with the most recent release, that's the Heaven Hill artwork on the back wall there. So that changes every time we do a release. But yeah, we're trying to get anyone and everyone drinking whiskey. I think the bar is kind of very, very much inclusive of that with the street art. Like we give drunk people pens and they can draw on the walls and stuff. But we only bottle things if we think they taste good. And we're trying to. The difference between Cut Your Wolf Loose and Artful Dodger is Cut Your Wolf Loose, we're trying to be hit kind of a bit more of a not the top end market, but a lot of our bottlings are quite easygoing. But that kind of leads me nicely onto the Aberfeldy that I see you guys sipping. This was our second release. Our first release to kind of hit into the market was very ballsy. We released a Lafroig that was finished off in Vino de Couleur, so heavy sherry cask. And we needed to do that to kind of make a bit of an impact. And then we followed it up with a polar opposite, being this Aberfeldy. I'm not sure how much Aberfeldy from the distillery that you guys have tried, but this in comparison is a lot more fresh. Like if you were to compare them visually, this Aberfeldy is super pale compared to what Aberfeldy releases themselves. But personally, I get a lot of kind of orchard fruits. It's quite creamy. This is something that I like. We had quite a bit of. We've still got some, but this is something in the bar that I've put into highballs, but also sip neat. I think it's a really versatile dram. Yeah, Jimmy says like pears and apples for sure. I definitely get the kind of fresh, like it's very for me. It's a real fresh, vibrant, bright dram. Like it's not dark and heavy. It's something you can have like really take your time with, which I really appreciate. Everything we do is single cask, and everything we do is cask strength as well. So there's no messing about. We don't dilute anything. The only thing that we have diluted technically is our blend, but that was diluted with other whiskies. But the street art for this one was done by Tom Blackford, who's local Brighton and South London, but he did the Mean Seagull. I've got the t-shirt on as well, which is good fun. I get free t-shirts through work. It's always a bit of a bonus.
I always say that like
But
the merch is the best part. It's like, do I work for the
it
brand or
is.
just just give me merch and I'm happy and I'll talk about your brand. It's great.
Well, this is it. Because we get so much artwork done, it's really tough. I'd love to do a t-shirt for every single label, but then we'd have millions and millions of t-shirts. It's not quite possible. But this, I actually had an opportunity to try some Aberfeldy 12 from Aberfeldy a month back. Something I hadn't tried in a long time, but it's really impressive how different these drams are. There we go. There's the Kalila as well. That was something we brought back recently. Scott's showing it there, but that was awesome. It's just completely different. This is so much juicier. Not you don't get that more sweet of darker fruit flavors that you get with normal Aberfeldy. But Eddie says bread and multi toast. Yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of described it as coffee with too much milk on my tasting notes. I do all the tasting notes for the brand. I think some people take it too seriously. I like to really take the piss, really go with it. But yeah, you kind of get that creamy, milky. There's a lot of malt on there as well, for sure. It's undeniable. That is like a
Yeah.
single. But yeah, this is a beautiful dram.
Yeah, I was surprised by how much sugar hit me on that first nosing as well. It was just like rock
Mm,
candy and lemon, like sugared lemon peel and stuff. It is incredible. And yeah, as you say, like it's been forever since I've had an Aberfeldy, but I think it was part of their like exceptional or one of their like wine
mm,
cask finish releases. They do so much with like Madeira cask and sherry cask in
mm-hmm.
their core
Yeah.
range, but it's so cool and fun just in bourbon cask as well. like worlds apart to see the
Well,
difference.
this is the exciting thing about indie bottling, which me and Seb find now. We've been trying a lot of cask samples as of late. We're going to be doubling. We only do 4 releases a year, mainly because we have to work with street artists who then have to paint the back wall and then who have to sign bottles as well. And believe it or not, working with street artists is an absolute logistical nightmare. It's an absolute pain in the ass. So we've only managed to do 4 releases over like each year over the last few years, but this time we're going to do 8 to 10. We're going to continue doing 4 artwork on the wall releases, but we're going to bring out some more stuff. I think this is kind of off the back of our latest release, which was a 15-year-old Heaven Hill. It went like that. It literally flew. It was really lovely to see. I mean, also quite a prestigious American whiskey distillery, but also us as a brand to have a crack at releasing something like that and seeing the kind of response it had was really exciting. So we're kind of off the back of that. We're feeling quite confident, but also the market at the moment, there's a lot going on and it's not great to put anything too expensive. So we're kind of having a look at our whiskies and seeing how well we can price them. But to get casks of Aberfeldy is quite hard. Not very many IBs are done. But yeah, this is exciting. We've not got much of it left now. But yeah, does anyone have any questions about the Aberfeldy?
No, I think people are just enjoying it. I mean, Jimmy's getting fresh Granny Smith apples on the nose as well.
Mm-hmm.
Leah, Obi Aberfeldy is not one of my faves. This is excellent, so that's always a great sign.
Beautiful.
Patrick's getting Apple Jacks and perhaps like an American breakfast cereal. Yeah, I kind of. It's been a
I get
long,
that.
even longer since I've had Apple Jacks than when I had Aberfeldy. But yeah, just super bright and like great to kind of start it off and intro in. Hopefully, I will be
Definitely.
visiting
I always
Aberfeldy.
start out tastings with the Aberfeldy because I think it's not it is cask strength. It's big, but it's also it doesn't knock you away straight off. I think I through working through the brand and also having the bar, I've I only really drink cask strength whiskey, and I need to remind myself that not everyone does that, and my palate it's a bit nuked. Um, so I think you know I've got to get used to not throwing cask strength whiskies at people straight off the bat. But I think this is something that will you ease yourself into. I know we've got a lot of like the laddie, for example, is 62%, but it doesn't drink like that, which is really exciting.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Australia, I'm sure I'll probably get a round of nods from everyone in the chat, but cask strength whiskey is the pick. It is what most people reach for here in
Mm.
Australia. So, you're not scaring anyone here
Oh,
at all.
nice. Yeah, I think sometimes people walk into the bar, and when I used to be behind the bar, I'd be like, "Oh, I'll have some of this," and they'd be like, "Oh," like they'd blow their head off, and I'm like throwing something at like 58%. But I think once you get into the habit of drinking it, the flavors there, it's so much more. Yeah, whiskey nerds,
Yeah,
they love
a
it.
hundred
Yeah.
percent. Well, speaking of something nerdy, I mean, we were talking about the Heaven Hill before,
Mm.
and moving on to whiskey number two, the Tomatin. Um,
Mm.
Tomatin's one of those kind of really overlooked distilleries as well. Is that something you find that as a brand they're kind of leaning towards more unusual,
For
smaller
sure. I
distilleries?
mean, it's funny within the IB world, you can kind of take it either really wild, like really aggressive cask finishes that you wouldn't normally see that is really interesting. Like you can kind of take a whiskey and shine it in a different light, or you can take more unheard of whiskies. This kind of comes about because a lot of the stock you can buy is like Diageo stock that would normally go into blends. A really good example of this is like Inchgour, like something that you wouldn't normally try. It's one of the main components of Bell's, but on its own is phenomenal. But Tomatin is kind of one of these ones that there's a little bit of it in the market, and we kind of bought it. And what we kind of with this one, which is what really interesting, you might notice off the palate, is it's a bit interesting. It's a bit of a curveball. We sat down, me and Seb sat downstairs and tried about 30 different cask samples. It was a bit of a mission, but this is, we kind of go through them, we try them, and then we'll star the ones that we like and come back to it with a sober head. But we tried a lot of very similar whiskies, and this one was a bit interesting. We kind of think this is part of their, so they do a peated release, their Cubocken. So on the very end of this, it's a little bit smoky. We thought, like, really, like, raised our eyebrows. We were like, well, okay, this is cool. This is a bit different. Skeleton Cardboard did the artwork for us. It's some kind of skeletons dancing. And we kind of didn't know the artwork before we bottled it. But for me, I got a lot of very vegetal mineral qualities to it, and it's a little bit like a little bit similar to a bit of an agave spirit, a bit of mezcal, a bit of tequila, which really sets it apart. It's undeniably a very fresh spirit. The color of it, there's not much cask influence. This is ex-bourbon, so we've kind of let the spirit really do the talking. But for something that's not really spoken about, this is an incredible whiskey. It was a bit of an underdog when we released it, and it's gaining a lot of attraction now, which is really nice. But yeah, definitely a lot of wood spice. It is a bit more of a fresh, lively character on this one.
Yeah, it's got this kind of, the first thing that stuck out to me was frangipanis. You know how
Mm-hmm.
frangipani flowers, when they're like really in full bloom, have that kind of ring on a kind of warm, funky kind of thing to it that's quite
Yeah.
oaky. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. And yeah, Patrick and Michael, the butteriness, 100%. It's
This,
yeah.
yeah. This one for me is something that's kind of overlooked. Not many people pay much attention to Tomatin, um, and especially IB, like independently bottled Tomatin. But we've kind of given this whiskey a bit of a platform. We had a lot of it as well. We released quite a lot of it, and with something like this, it takes a bit of time for it to get going. But I think this is one of those ones that has got a real cult following with at least like fans of our brand. Um, yeah, like it's a bit of a hard sell, like Leo says. But this is my job now to kind of do that. But I think people have taken to it really nicely. I was up in London at Black Rocks. There's a bar in London called Black Rocks. I was up there a few weeks ago, and this was a lot of people's favorites, which is really interesting because you throw like a Brook Laddie or like an Aaron in the mix, and people get really excited because they're big name, household distillery names. But it's really nice to see something a little bit underrepresented really take the limelight, which is good fun. That's what I independently like IBs is all about. Over here in the UK at the moment, the Heart Cut. I'm not sure if you guys get those down there. The Heart Cut, Georgie and Fab. We actually had Fab in here yesterday showing their field and release, but those guys are doing an incredible job of taking lesser known distilleries and putting them into a really good, like, because they've got a really good reputation now, and they put them in a limelight and focus on like getting newer distilleries into people's cabinets, which is really good fun. They're great people though, really great people.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of bottles at Whiskey and Element and a few kicking around. But yeah, and they predominantly showcase like newer distilleries as well,
Mm.
distilleries that tend to be quite young. I think they did a Holyrood
Yeah,
recently that I heard was spectacular. I haven't gotten around to tasting it myself, but
yeah, their
yeah.
most recent one is a field and rye, English rye, which is really exciting.
Mhm.
um I think as within the cask market at the moment, it's settling back down. um we buying and selling casks is mainly Seb's responsibility. I take the casks and then we bottle them. But the market, with a lot of people are getting invested into whiskey now, which really sections off quite a lot of that kind of, no one's drinking it, it's just for an investment, so people are holding on to it. But it's kind of settling now. I think a lot of people are getting clued on to the dodgy cask investment companies and stuff like that, so it's turning back around now. There's a lot more stock available for us. We kind of are in a fortunate position now where we've been buying and selling casks for a long time, and Seb's got a really good He's got a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, and we've got access to a lot of good casks. And this kind of allows us to release quite a diverse portfolio, but the angle is changing now. A lot of people used to buy to hold and then bottle, and now a lot of distilleries are a lot of independent bottlers are buying casks just a straight bottle, which is exactly what we did with the Arran, which is kind of next up, but I won't rush you guys into the next dram if
Yeah,
you haven't.
no, I was gonna say if we want to move on to whiskey number 3, the Arran, if you guys want to start pouring it out or drinking it. But yeah, the comments as well, Eddie saying this Tomatin's good, way better than my 14, or like
Mm,
very different. Leah's right, yeah, Tomatin's probably a hard sell because of that name recognition just isn't there. And I think so
yeah,
many distilleries, particularly those in the Diageo stable, like really get left by the wayside because they're not recognizable names, or you never see them, and it's once in a blue moon you find them in an independent bottler as well.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I also have a particular penchant for distilleries that are like underloved. Like one that comes to mind, Glenlossie. I love
yep,
Glenlossie. Such a pretty whiskey. I think I can get my hands on
yeah.
a bottle.
It's
Anyway,
tricky. You see
so
the
hard.
occasional one up here. We've got a few ones from the Thompson brothers, and I think Cholton Whiskey, another great independent bottler, has also done one. But it's yeah, we did a Thrusk under Artful Dodger in our last batch, and that was great. It's just really nice because people try them at trade shows when they actually take the time to try out everything that we've got there. They're typically the people I like to throw the under-counter drams to because you take the time to get to know the brand, and I'm more than happy to throw some incredible whiskey at you. But we had an Thrust that was really well taken after. Just something, Diageo stuff that normally people wouldn't really touch, but you kind of put it under something at cast strength and really give it a limelight, like you give it a real good spotlight to have a crack at, and it's really entertaining. Was it Jimmy saying unripe citrus fruits, definitely vegetable? Yeah, it's much more of a fresh young dram on that. But yeah,
Yeah.
moving on to the Arran, like I was saying, we got offered this cask and we thought it was so great. We just went straight to bottle. We didn't decide to hang on to it. We just kind of grabbed it, moved it straight to it. So we've got a bonded warehouse up in Scotland. We've just moved everything into one warehouse. We had them all over the place, which was good. There's the whole don't keep all your eggs in one basket, but our insurance now on the casks is so good, like it doesn't really matter. Um, we've got them in Creetown up at Whisky Broker, and they do everything for us. It's really convenient. But we literally bought that, shipped it straight to our bonded warehouse, and got it bottled straight away. Thumbs did the artwork for this. It's really tough for me to pick favorite artworks, but I think this one might be it. It's a bit of I'm not sure if we've got it, but
Got it.
oh, you got it. There we go. Yeah,
Uh,
that's the
which one
third
was
one.
the third one?
Yeah. So it's
Oh, yeah.
you've got Mickey Mouse, you've got Doctor Doom, a few other characters there. It's a real. I mean, apparently, so Thumbs was saying they're all public domain now, so you can use them. But it's just a real fun bit of artwork, really. It's quite nice to see them all lined up like that. It's funny because you look at them on a back bar and they really stand out, especially opposed to more classic labels. We did a release for the Whiskey Shop. It's a big chain of whiskey shops around the UK over here. We did was it a Lafroig for them, and I was in Bath doing a tasting, and I decided, I'm gonna go try find, like, I had some time, I'll go into the whiskey shop, I'll try find it, and I literally walked straight in the front door, and it was there, like dead, like in a hole, like surrounded about amongst a bunch of different whiskeys, and you could see it straight away. So that's quite fun to have a label like that. There's a company called CYWL that do a bunch of different artwork. Thompson Brothers also do it, but we kind of give local artists. We try to keep local, but it's not always the easiest thing to do. But Thumbs is from just outside of Brighton, but it's exciting. But
Yeah,
this,
I was helping out. I was at Whiskey and Elmet, and the Ardbeg section is like behind the back and like under a shelf, so it's like quite dark back there. But just remember walking into the bar, I was like, "Ooh, what's that?" And it was that Ardbeg.
yeah,
He just stands out so much. It is
it's
incredible.
cool. It's a little bit different compared to a lot of classic whiskey labels and stuff like that. I think, I mean, look at Ardbeg, for example, what they're actually doing as a distillery. They've kind of done a bit of a 180 on all their labelings. They're trying to be a bit more like creative. But this Aaron we bottled just because we thought it was beautiful. It's a very classic representation of what Aaron is, and it's cask strength, so you can't go wrong. But yeah, like as Jimmy says, toffee, apple. I think it's, yeah, you got a lot of pastries, apple tarts, a bit almondy. It's real bright, but this is something for people that don't really like PT whiskies. This is something we throw at people all the time within the bar. It's just, personally, I think this is a sessionable dram. You've got a good amount of cask influence as well. It was just very well balanced, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you, Patrick, as well. Patrick says the nose is a bit muted, but then the
Mm.
palate punches through with like orange blossom, honey, treacle syrup. I'm getting like a little bit of apple strudel kind of vibes as well, that like
Yeah,
high
massively.
cinnamon note. Yeah. A risky session dram at 58.8%.
Yeah, it's true. I'm a seasoned veteran, though.
What is it? We listen and we don't judge. Whatever
Yeah,
you want to get up
yeah,
to.
yeah.
No, I
Is
love
it?
it.
Um, we had. I'm not sure if everyone knows Dave Broom, but Dave Broom is a local Brighton boy. He's here in town. We see him quite a bit at the bar, but just an incredibly, incredibly knowledgeable person within the whiskey industry. But actually, when we picked the Tomatin, I was downstairs, and we tried 30 different cask samples, and I came up to go home. I walked upstairs, and Dave was here, and I went over to say goodbye to him, and I walked up to him, and he stood up, and I just thought, oh, he's standing up to give me a hug. He wasn't, but I drunkenly laid a massive hug on Dave Broom, who gave me a very stern pat on the shoulder, and then said he was off to find his next whiskey. So now it's become a bit of a running joke. Every time Dave Broom's about, I get told not to go near him. I have
We
to
got
wave at
bodyguards.
but yeah, he took it quite. He's such a nice guy. He took it quite well. But yeah, I think to have something like an Aaron at 58, because what they did there, I think off the top of my head, they did their quarter cask, the Bothy. I think that was cask strength as well. I wish this one sold out really quickly. We've still got stock for the bar by the dram, but it would be something like, we don't have the Bothy in here anymore, but it would have been great to try them side by side to just really compare what something they've done um, at cask strength and something we've picked out.
Yeah, 100%. I think, and Ben and Chris can chime in the chat. We might have this bottle on that's on a table at the face show this weekend. So I don't
Nice.
think we've got the Bothy, but like it's a really cool opportunity to try like the side by side
Yeah, I
with
think.
their core stuff, and even their like bodega I think is at 50% and whatnot. So super
This is
cool.
what I love about independently bottled like whiskey. To just try something at a higher ABV. But the thing about independent bottles is that they go quite quickly, and once they're done, they're done. We don't have anything available by the bottle anymore. My trade allocation got snapped up quite quickly. There's a few around, but I think you know this is something that if I don't have a bottle of it because I get to try it at the bar all the time, but if I did, it'd be something I'd be holding on to quite dearly.
Yeah, it's always that like perpetual struggle. I mean, we had a tasting with Angus from Whiskey Sponge Decadent Drinks last night
Awesome.
as well. And if I could buy a bottle of every single sponge release, I would have. But also I would be like, oh, I'll never get this again. It's a
True.
perpetual struggle, because you want to hold them dear, but you also want to enjoy them and share them. Eddie's asking, is Aaron available in Australia? I think we had some, but I think they're sold out.
I think we only.
Possibly. I
I
think
think
there
I
is
only managed to
only
get 2 bottles to you
one.
guys. So
Yeah, I think there's only one bottle from this tasting that is still up on the website, and it's a Brook So,
yeah,
Chris said that we brought in 2 bottles, and we're all
yeah,
currently drinking one. So, yeah, the
there
other
you
one
go.
is probably for the show. So, yeah, at least we get the opportunity to taste it, enjoy it. That's why I do love these virtual tastings we do, because it's like, oh, it justifies being able to try something, even if I can like never taste it again. At
Yeah,
least I've
well,
had
it's
that
nice to tick it off the
experience.
list.
Yeah. So speaking of kind of like, unique tasting opportunities, you guys are delving into blends now as well. Most of the guys in the group know I'm a massive sucker for blended whiskey. I think there's
Yeah,
something so like such an old man in the way that I love
I
whiskey.
think
So yeah.
yeah, I think blends. I think it's coming full circle now because obviously blends were the main thing way back in the day. You wouldn't really drink single malt whiskey, and then people kind of it became available to drink more single cask whiskey, and then blends got the bad rap. And then nowadays it's coming back around full circle. You've got companies like Woven that are doing phenomenal like blends and stuff like that, and a lot of the indie bottlers are having a good crack at it. This was Our blend was a bit, the best way I can describe it was a bit serendipitous. We had a cask, we had a big sherry butt that we had vatted a few whiskies into. Um, we love to try and be as transparent as possible. So there was um, Highland Park, Glen Lassalle, and Balmanac all blended into this vat, into this big sherry butt, and we basically had this cask of Kalila, 16-year-old Kalila, that split, and it was pissing its ABV. I think we eventually put half of it into this blend, and then we bottled another half of it under our cut the leftovers loose range, which is our kind of small batch bin ends kind of thing. We haven't really done too much with it, but it was bottled at a natural cask strength of 42.4%. So you can really imagine, like for something that's 16 years old, it really shouldn't have an ABV like that. Um, but so this blend is cask strength, but it's just been pulled down because of that Kalila. So I think this really ticks a lot of the IBs are really doing a blend like this. It's kind of a very well balanced, peaty, bit sweet. Like you've definitely got the oak there as well. And yeah, it's like some McLean's nose from Ardnamurchan, they've done that, which is a little bit similar. I'm trying to think who else has done like the Midgie as well. Ardnamurchan have done a very similar blend. Kind of fits that area. We fit this at £50 a bottle. So for something cask strength, I thought it was really good. It really hit that market quite nicely.
Yeah, I think
What
that's
does everyone
fantastic. Well, yeah, Patrick's getting that maritime influence, which I assume is kind of coming from that Kalila had, quite a dominant bourbon cask influence beforehand, perhaps.
Definitely. It was a big obviously with a leak in it, you're gonna get a lot of oxygen, a lot of evaporation, you're gonna get a lot of cask influence on it. You really, I mean, that Kalila on its own, we had it bottled and it was extremely easy drinking for those people that kind of like that more fresh coastal peat, not earthy, but more coastal, like yeah, olive brine, salty kind of vibe. That was absolutely phenomenal. Um, it was Seb kind of just chucked the blend, like chucked it in the blend, and I didn't know what to think of it. And then I tried it, and I've actually sat down with the blend for quite a while, and I really enjoy it. Um, it's funny. It's something that we use here in the bar. We kind of throw it in a few cocktails as well. It's something that you can sit down and drink as well. I think it's one of those ones that kind of ticks a lot to boxes. We named it blend number one. We haven't got any plans to make a second blend, but we will eventually if the kind of the choice, like the option, kind of pops its head up.
I
Uh,
appreciate
the
that you
whiskey,
had the forethought to be like, this is number one, just in case.
just in case. Yeah, I think you never know. You don't want to close the door. I think it's very easy for us to get caught up in the single cask scene, but at the end of the day, we're not blenders. We've got a palate to pick a nice cask. I think Seb's got a phenomenal palate on finding something that tastes exceptional. But we could put some lab coats on and get some pipettes out and start blending. But who knows how well it would go.
Yeah, it's such a true like art form that I think, as much as we rag on, the Johnny Walker guys and whatnot, it's just like, look, at the end of the day, in order to make Johnny Walker Blue Label taste like nothingness, there's a
Mm.
lot of skill that goes into it.
Well,
So,
so this is why people, I kind of get annoyed when people give blends a bad rap, because if anything, it's more hard to be a master blender than it is to be a distiller, because you got to make the same product year on, year out with your ingredients that change every year. It's impossible to make the same whiskey twice with the nature of casks. So to be able to make that same thing over and over and over again is really, really impressive.
yeah,
Was it
truly.
Michael
Yeah.
asked what other whiskies are in the blend? So there's the 16-year-old Kalila, there's a 10-year-old Highland Park, and then the rest of it there's a 7-year-old Balmanac and a 6-year-old Glenlassaugh. So yeah,
Jimmy got a bit of Glenglassaugh in it, so good call, Jimmy.
there we go.
I as soon as you said Balmanac, I was like, oh, that's where that like juicy jelly bean texture as well, like a little bit that's
Mm,
coming from.
yeah,
Um,
that's such a great tasting note. Um,
yeah,
I
I love Leo's comment as well. This is an excellent example where a great blend is greater than the sum of its parts,
mm.
especially with the age statement.
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of see a lot of blends chucking just for the sake of it, doing really crazy age statements and then throwing something really young in there just to wind people up on the labeling. But yeah, for something that there is quite a lot of 6-year-old whiskey in there, and it doesn't taste that young. I mean, who's to say how much heavy lifting that 16-year-old Kalila is doing? But I think this is I think it spent the previous like the other three before the Kalila went in there spent quite a long time in the sherry cask. So it really it wasn't first fill. I'm going to say it was probably second. So it hasn't taken on that much flavor from the sherry, but it's really given a nice level of sweetness, in my opinion.
Yeah, I we were literally just talking with Angus about this last night. He's like, "Oh, I'd love to blend a 40-year-old with a 10-year-old, kind of just for shits and giggles." But he's like, "I'd have to price it so high, it's not even worth the
Well,
thought."
yeah, this is the thing with casks at the moment. Seb and I are trying to take a different approach with pricing, and we're trying to, we're kind of we've understood that now the market people want to continue drinking whiskey, especially over here in the UK. People would rather spend money on some quality over quantity. I think is kind of the way that the market's shifting over here. But people don't want to slam £200 on a bottle of whiskey, not anymore, not so much, unless it's something like exceptional. Um, so we've kind of taken we had a really good meeting the other week and took a step back and just kind of thought about what direction we want to go in. Um, with our most recent release, the Heaven Hill, we released that at £70 a bottle, which is bonkers considering you look at the rest of the market, what everyone else is pricing Heaven Hill at is silly. It's probably why it went so quickly, and a lot of it's been thrown on auction already. This is something it's an odd one. We don't really love the fact that our bottles are on auction. We'd rather people drink them than make money on them, but also it's exposure for us at the end of the day. Um, but we're trying to be fair in our pricing. I think that's what everyone's trying to do. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, I think the secondary market, it's like such a blessing and a curse. You're
Mm-hmm.
like, uh, it's great that our name's getting out there and people are interested and curious, but at the same time, it's just like, we made it so you could drink it, not so
Mm-hmm.
you could like, and
Exactly.
yeah, it's really hard. Um, yeah, I love Patrick as well. The comment you made is about the finish, where it transitions from peat smoke to campfire smoke right before it vanishes, and yeah, best finish of the night. It is gorgeous, Leo. I think Khalil is a backbone, but it's definitely in the background. Getting
Mm.
maritime and Highland Peak. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. And it's like so approachable as well, even for that ABV. Like it's,
Mm.
you know, have it neat, have it in a highball, just phenomenal.
For sure. I mean, Seb's a big fan of he calls it smoky cokey, just peaty whiskey and coke.
We love a
Uh,
smoky cookie here. I can
yeah,
tell you as well. We do frozen cola slushies with a peated whiskey
nice.
in it in summer, and at the
One
face
of
show. Highly recommend.
Awesome. One of my favorite things growing up in Australia is you used to get the frozen Cokes for $1 at Macca's. I don't know if it's still $1, but yeah, I would love to throw a jam in that for nostalgia's time's sake.
Yeah, I think they're like $2 now, but
Oh,
inflation
inflation.
and all that. I think 7-Eleven still does like the $1 Slurpee days or something like that every now and then, but yeah, super, super cool. Well, let's move on to whiskey number 5. Uh,
Brooklady.
Patrick's never had a smoky cokey. We will remedy that for you next time. Next
Yeah,
time
you
I'm
gotta
up
give
in
it a try.
Brisbane, we will go to McDonald's with a, a bottle of uh, my favorite is the Ardbeg Wee Beastie. I'm not an Ardbeg fan, and actually, my
Mm,
husband doesn't drink whiskey at all. But when Faish rolls around and we do the slushies with the shot of peated whiskey in it, he like he runs out. He's like, "You want a slushie? I'm gonna have a slushie," and then he's going to get one
so
every
good.
hour. So, highly recommend.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, it works so well. It's funny, like colleague of mine, Jason, was playing around with like a coffee and tonic thing, and he added a bunch of stuff. It was a cocktail he was making, and then he added a bunch of other things into it, and then he eventually turned around, and it was kind of just turned out to be tasting like Coca-Cola. And I was like, "You've reversed engineered Coca-Cola," and I was just like, "You should call it whiskey and Coke." It's not, but it would be a great thing for it.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. I mean, moving on to the Brooklady, big distillery, very famous. Let's not deny that. Um, we had this for quite a while. It's big, 62%. This is a big whiskey. Um, I think this is super. Kind of when I was doing the tasting notes, I thought it was quite fresh, like very mellow, but also I can't remember exactly what I said. It was like a peach on a beach, like frangipanis. This is something I said as well. A bit of coastal influence, but very tropical. I think this is a phenomenal dram. Typically, I don't really drink when I do tastings, but the last tasting I did up in London, I had the dram, and then I was like, "Crap, that's really nice." And then I did the next one, I was like, "Oh, that's really good as well." And eventually, I just went through all of them. But I really took some time with the Brooklady. I think this is just such an elegant whiskey. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sessionable. Leo says it is
Yeah,
indeed.
seductively sessionable. I love it. Yeah,
62%
it's
as well. My style.
so this is it like a laddie, a Lockendale, a Port
This
Charlotte,
is Yeah, this is classic laddie. This is
classic
something,
laddie?
yeah, we've had. We recently, which is quite exciting. You should keep your eyes peeled for it. We had an old cask of 2001 Brook Laddie. We've held on to, which is really exciting because it's on their old malting program. So when they used to slightly peat the Brook Laddie, and that's been held up in a Chateau Yquem dessert, like French dessert wine cask. So if we're talking really bold flavor, like cast finishes, that's definitely one. Where I really want it underneath the cut you wolf loose, but also everyone else really want, like Seb and Will really want it under Alpha Dodger. So we'll see who wins that tug of war.
Love that. I so you've been hanging on to like these barrels for like quite a while. Obviously, like the luxury of dealing in casks means you've had that
Yeah,
ability to hang on to barrels. Because I know that Brooke Luddy and Pernod Ricard have had a bit of a shuffle around recently. Do you think we're going to see less and less Luddy in
yeah.
the space?
I think a lot of the big. I mean, Diageo have also stopped selling Kalila, something that you'd see everywhere within the independent bottling market, but they're really holding quite tight onto it. I think a lot of these other distilleries have been quite very conservative. I think I can't remember who distributes, who sells the casks for Lecheg and Tobermory, but they're being a little bit tight
ABH.
on what they'll throw out. Yeah, they're being quite tight on that. Luckily, we've got quite a good range of whiskies within the portfolio that we're holding on to. That we Seb does a lot of selling, buying and selling to other IBs as well. We've sold casks to Angus from Decadent Drinks. There was a company out in Germany did a bunch of different IBs. They had a few brands of Best Drams, Scotch Universe, Old Friends.
The
We sold a
malt
few
bar
casks to them. I can't remember the name of the
or
actual
liquid
company.
treasures?
Hold on, let me very quickly
Yeah.
dip into my emails.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I think it's just is Scotch Universe. I think it is just. I think they've apparently they've stopped bottling, so they've sold us a bunch of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, is it? What does Oz say? I'd like to ask
Yeah,
a
I
slightly
I
out.
like Oz's question. What do you guys in the UK think about Aussie whiskey? Obviously, being a bar as well, you get like a consumer reaction as well as industry approach to Aussie
For
whiskey.
sure.
What's the feedback?
I think that's a really great question. Obviously, I'm biased. I think it's phenomenal. I will pedal as much Aussie whiskey behind the bar as I can. I think, I'm not sure if many of you got the chance to try the Highwayman bottling that we did, but that is awesome. So big. It was like the perfect blend between a dark rum, a whiskey, and like, oh, it's just wild. There's a bit of everything in there. It was super sweet, sticky. Um, it's something, a conversation I really like to enjoy having because obviously New World whiskies are really exciting. Different climates into the mix. We have the only Aussie whiskey we have in is we've got a lot of whiskey from Dan because we work. This is the reason why we did a Highwayman release because we used to um, do bottle trades. So we'd do a release. Oh, there we go. Scott's got the Highwayman there. Oh, that's the Aussie bottling as well. Nice. So we split the cast. They did half there, and then we did the other half up here in some 70s. But we, we used to just trade and pay duty. We wouldn't really do. We wouldn't buy anything. But then we were like, why do we keep doing this? Let's do a bottle. Alternatively, Morris is kicking up some like is it the Muscat cast they do? I think it's really popular over here. We've also got Starward, but Starward's a bit of everything, like everywhere. But I think more some of the more smaller distilleries that probably get drunk quite a lot down there are still kind of finding their way. Um, yeah, Morris is marketing heavily in the UK. You definitely see it for sure. It's exciting.
It'll-
The New World whiskey it's really running over here.
Yeah, Morris will probably be picking up steam more in the UK as well. The brand ambassador Ryan, who's
Yeah, I know
been
Ryan.
here in
Yeah.
yeah. So Ryan just flew back the other day. I'm
Oh
very
no
sad to see
way.
them go. Yeah, so yeah, Ryan will be back in the UK now. And when I head over in August, I'm gonna catch up with them.
Awesome.
And we'll come down to the bar and bring you a bunch
Do
of
it.
fun,
Yeah,
cool
come
indie
down
Aussie samples, 100%.
for sure.
Um, yeah, Ryan will be repping Morris in the UK, though I know they really, really want to come back to Australia. They absolutely loved it here.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, what a
uh,
cool spot to do some workout down in Melbourne as well. Awesome
100%.
opportunity.
Yeah, Eddie's asking what my favorite Australian distillery is. Well, we were just at King Lake recently, and I adore King Lake Distillery, but my personal favorite in Australia is one of and I think I've told them this, they're terrible at marketing. It's absolutely atrocious, but I love Florio Distillery. I think their still is designed after Kaulila, so they have
Okay,
this like
cool.
quite chunky spirit character. They're ex-brewers and ex-winemakers, so they've got like such a head for distillation already in like the way that flavor works. They're doing some cool experiments with different yeasts. Yeah, Jimmy's got a
Oh, there
bottle.
we go.
I've loved Fluoro since day one. And to top it all off, Gareth and Angela are the loveliest people in existence. So like it just brings it full circle. So I'll bring you some Fluoro. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, absolutely. Incredible
I'm
amount
trying
of
to.
whiskey producers here in Australia. I think last I checked, this is whiskey and gin and all spirits, but there's like
Hmm.
700 distilleries in
I think I
Australia.
read
Yeah.
somewhere that Tasmania's got the highest distillery per capita than anywhere else in the world. I spent a
Yeah,
lot of time
then
in Hobart growing up because my grandparents were down there. So retrospectively, it makes a lot of sense. That climate down there is perfect whiskey maturing weather, in my opinion.
yeah,
But yeah,
100%. I think there's like something like 89 down there now.
there's not very
Yeah.
many people living down there either. There's like
No,
500,000, I think.
it's so interesting to see like because people who live in Tasmania they move to the mainland to find work, but now you've got this whole bunch of Tassies moving back to Tasmania because of the whiskey industry there now. So
Yeah,
super
it's really
super cool.
exciting. Same as well, Isla is like for square meterage, it's the highest jobs per capita than anywhere else in the UK. It's a tiny little space, but there's so many jobs going.
I'm
It's a
I'm honestly
beautiful place.
shocked there aren't more distilleries on Isla. Like it's you can throw a stone and hit like three distilleries in Hobart,
Mhm.
and Isla just still has this beautiful empty expanse on it, which I was really surprised
Yeah,
by.
I think by the end of next year, there's going to be 13, I think is the new count. Port Latruin's being built. I had a really cool conversation with the guys at Elixir Distillers. They it was myself and a colleague's birthday on Sunday. So on Friday we had an excuse to throw a big party at the bar, but we got sponsored by Elixir Distillers, so they threw a bunch of whiskey at us, which was nice. But we had a good old chat about what's going on with Tormore and Port Truin. It's exciting, you know. I think the difficult thing with Isla is the infrastructure. It's really difficult to build out there because you got to get. There's only one ferry, and it's pretty bloody difficult. Um,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
it's hard. I mean, when I was on Isla, we got a flat tire on the last day, and we were
Oh
supposed to leave
no.
by ferry the next day. And I'm like I was like so close to having a full meltdown, and I still had to get to Bunnahabhain, so I took a cab over while I left my husband to deal with the mechanic. But
Love it.
I talked them into putting a slightly different size tire on so that we could
Hmm.
get off the ferry and whatnot. It all came out good, but yeah, it was sort of like oh no, either we or the car is stuck here for a while if I don't figure something
Yeah,
out. It's yeah, it
yeah.
is
Gotta
crazy over
keep
there.
moving.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, speaking of Isla, let's
yeah.
tack into the one that I've personally been most excited to try. I didn't try it on the bar at Whiskey Nelmet.
Okay.
Um, I wanted to wait until the tasting tonight. I always try everything at the same time as you guys do. Maybe I'll smell them, but I'm trying
Get no
to with
sneak
you guys.
peeks.
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
I mean, this is really exciting as far as Ardbeg, like something that we did. We were quite fortunate. We bought this cask, and it was covered in Ardbeg. There was Ardbeg on the top, the bottom, all around. And we kind of turned around and said, look, surely we can label it as Ardbeg, you know, because what is it? It's normally, I'm trying to think of their other indie bottling name. Um, they
Kildalton.
yeah, I think it is. Yeah, they usually go with something else, but basically they said, sure, you can put Ardbeg on the label, which was awesome for us to actually have that name. You know, obviously it carries a lot of weight. Um, this is in refill sherry, but it hasn't passed on a lot of that sherryness to it. But wow, does it like the peat really settle quite nicely into this? It's earthy, tarry, sticky. There's a really nice salinity, savoriness to it. I think this is just for me. If you enjoy Ardbeg, I think this is really exciting to try something that's cask strength and there's a decent age statement on it and not overly too expensive. I work with Bob and Christy over at the whiskey shop in Bowmore on Isla, and anything that we do that's from Isla, they take as much of it as possible because, like in comparison to, because they obviously stock a lot of main distillery bottlings at the shop, to have something that's independently bottled, cask strength, and that is typically cheaper than something that they're releasing that's diluted. They push it, and obviously it stands out on the shelves and everything. But we got Hunto. It's an Italian guy. Hunto did the artwork for us. This kind of Picasso-esque contemporary faces, a great pop of color. I think it's a really exciting whiskey. So bold, so full of flavor, and there's a really long finish. The peat is just really well integrated. I've kind of found that a lot of people, when it comes to a lot of the whiskey nerds that come into the bar over here, they kind of find that sherry cask, you either love or hate a sherry cask, and I think a lot of people nowadays, a lot of the kind of the whiskey nerds here, um, is they kind of don't like overly sherried whiskies because they think they lose a lot of the nature of what they're drinking. But this is bold. I think it's, you know, beautiful cask strength, takes water really well. It's, yeah, really, like, was it Michael's just said, are you sure about the ABV? Yeah, 100%. But you're right, it really doesn't drink like that. Funnily enough, HMRC don't really have any sense of humor, so we can't really be cheeky. But it's cool. I mean, I wish we could cheat and say it was less because we'd probably pay less duty on it. But I think this is an awesome whiskey. It was the Uncut and Unfiltered podcast. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but Jake from that is a big fan of this whiskey.
Super cool. No, I'll have to add that podcast to my list. But yeah, it's so, like everyone's saying, gentle and like pretty. Um, and yeah, it really reminds me of like it's what I think a lot of the Ardbeg core range should really showcase better. That like
Mm.
soft salinity kind of thing. It again, I'm getting like a sardines on toast, but it's also like
Yeah,
on the palate, I'm
yeah,
getting this mintiness, like almost a fisherman's friend spearmint
yeah,
kind of thing
cool.
to it. So cool. Um, Jimmy recommends Uncut and Unfiltered as well as a podcast. Awesome. I will add it to
Yeah,
my
they're good.
list.
They're good boys. They're kind of getting all the family involved. Jake's sister's now doing some work for them as well, which is really lovely.
Yeah,
They were
cool.
in the bar the other day and did a big interview with me, which was good fun. We made some drinks and stuff, which is, yeah. I think the ABV being so high is probably really carrying that freshness. You know, you definitely
Mm.
get a lot of that alcohol on the tongue. I love anything in the 60s. I'm all about. I think it's really exciting to see, especially anything peaty as well.
Mm. 100%. Yeah, Jimmy is wondering what percentage they were filling into cask for it to be this high. I imagine as well, like I'm not 100% certain, but I know Tobermory fills the casks higher when they want it to be a longer age statement release. So I
Yeah,
suspect this might have just been intended to become like a 25 or a 30-year-old and
yeah.
just never made it.
It's a tricky. It's funny one because I think, like, logically, I don't know exactly how we came across the cask, but obviously for Ardbeg to release something that's covered in Ardbeg, like the name and the branding, and also at an age statement, I can't imagine why. But I think maybe, yeah, you're probably right. You know, they wanted to probably bottle this at quite a larger age statement, but wanted to just move it for a bit of money. So we happened to come across it. Very fortunate for us that we actually had it, but you know, it's something, our warehouse. It could, yeah, like there's so many other casks in that warehouse. Who knows where it could have been? It could have been right at the bottom of the rack and really covered up, and or just a really tight wood. But yeah, it's really interesting. A lot of being in Scotland where our warehouse is, it's pretty smack bang in the middle. Like you're not getting any crazy rates of evaporation or anything. I mean, with the Heaven Hill that we released, there's a bit of a wild journey on that. We bought it. It spent 9 years in the States, and then we decided to. Then it was in New American Oak, and then we put it into refill bourbon, and then we shipped it over to Scotland in the summer. It was on a freight ship for like months, and I would have loved to been there to crack open that shipping container because there was quite a few casks in there. You could, if anyone was smoking, it could have been hazardous. But then we then held that for a lot longer. With bourbons, it's really interesting because I personally, I'm getting more into bourbons. I think we held it for, like, obviously the change in temperature. You've gone from America where it's outrageously hot, especially over in that area, and then to Scotland really slowed everything down. So for a 15-year-old that normally would be so overcooked, it's a bit more gentle if you've actually had a try. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still cast strength and punchy, but you're getting a bit more subtlety than just full oak vanilla coconut. but yeah, it's good fun to play around with these things. We don't try to tend to move things all that much. We've had some stock siphoned in the past in transport, which is cheeky. You got to weigh before and after now, but we've just left everything in one warehouse. We're lazy. We like to look at a spreadsheet and send emails.
Fair enough. Yeah, so now that we've finished all these whiskeys, I swear I could go back to all of them again and just do a whole nother flight from start to finish, I feel like. I will run the poll. So Hugo, just a heads up, you can see how people
Cool.
vote in the poll. It's kind of like
Awesome.
greyhound racing or something. But I'll launch the poll. You can vote for your top two favorite whiskeys of the night. And yeah, kind of going on that maturing and storing all your whiskeys, like Michael
Mm.
said, do you guys have more of a habit of storing for further maturation and then bottling later? Is that
It's been something we've done quite a lot. As of late, we tend to find that we can release at a better price if we bought it a while ago. A lot of the casks that we've released, I mean, at least with the Heaven Hill recently, we bought that back in 2011. And we've held on to it. We've got it at such a good price, and we've held on to it for so long that we could kind of put it at more. We had a bit more lenience within our markup and our kind of price range. We do hold a lot of our stock, but if something pops up, we find something like the Aaron that we thought was exceptional, and it's the right time and the right price, we will just bottle it straight away. But majority, I'd say about 80% of the stock we kind of hold, and we will we will keep in our warehouse and bottle at the right time. I think the dynamic is changing. I think for us as a company, we've been, at least Wolf Drinks, the kind of the bulk spirit side of the business has been running for so long. So we do have quite a developed portfolio, but for a lot of younger independent bottlers, they don't have that liberty. One, they don't have any space to store things, and two, that they kind of just want to buy something and shift it straight away. We've kind of got the perfect storm of bulk spirit, and we've got two brands which kind of feed off the same portfolio. So we're pretty privileged in that respect.
yeah, nice. Oh, amazing. Eddie's saying they're from Hong Kong, and there's a bottle of the Ardbeg at Club Ching. We've had the pleasure of
Awesome.
Aaron from Club Ching as one of our guests. So yes, highly recommend ordering a shot.
Yeah, Aaron's
Uh,
awesome. We've sold quite a lot of bottles to them.
yeah. So Scott's saying as well, how often do you guys release something? I'm assuming that kind of like a bottle quarterly kind of process at the moment with the
It's
artwork.
yeah. So originally, like I was saying earlier, it was every quarter basically, just because it was really quite tricky to balance working with the street artists, because obviously our labels rely on them doing artwork, and then we can't release that bottle until they've signed the bottle, because we, with every release we do, we also get prints done, 10 prints, and they sign 10 bottles. So you can buy, if you're into that kind of thing, you can buy the artwork and the bottle as a set, as a bit of a collector's item. But then that relies on them actually being able to make it to the bar, to then paint the wall and then sign the bottles. So it's just kind of, we got to work everything out properly. The Brook Laddie, for example, Mike Boyd, he's not a street artist, he's actually a tattoo artist. If you ever meet Seb, he's got heaps of tattoos, and Mike's done some work on him, I'm pretty sure. And he came over from New York, painted the wall with his wife. It was beautiful, hand painted and everything. And then he had to fly back, but we didn't have the bottles at the time because we were still waiting. There was a delay on the bottling line up at the warehouse, and then eventually we got the labels. I had to post the labels to Mike in New York. Mike had to sign them, post them back, and then I had to label the Brook Laddie bottle. So if you ever buy a signed Brook Laddie bottle and the label's a little bit squiff, it's my fault. But it's just a bit of a logistical nightmare. Now we're going to be moving to do 8 to 10 bottles a year. In July, we're about to drop 4 releases in July, which is really exciting. We've had the chance to try a few of the car samples, but we're only going to do one art wall release for the one into the July, and then the other 3 we're going to get street artists to do the labels, but we're not relying on them having to paint anything or anything. So this year we kind of want to get more stuff out into the market, which is really exciting.
Yeah, amazing. Well, end the poll. We'll do a drum roll to share the results. And the Brook Laddie came out front. Aaron came
Awesome.
close second. And then, yeah, the blend. Fabulous to see a blend taking out third place. There's honestly
Yeah.
never any love for whiskey number one, but I loved the Aberfeldy.
That's got to
So,
stop. That's my winner. It's for the people, that whiskey. I love it.
yeah,
I think it's a beautiful whiskey.
100%. And yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say we're very looking forward to more releases coming from you guys and getting them into Australia and having more bottlings
Yeah,
available and more virtual tastings in the
for
future.
sure.
Um,
I mean, yeah, thank you guys for inviting me for my first virtual tasting. It's very exciting. What's the time? The time will be like 9 p.m. over there now. No, it's like I'm
uh,
cracking off. It's midday for me. Um, I've already had a couple cups of coffee. I'll be on to the whiskies later.
yeah,
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it's really exciting for me as well to be able to get our products down into Australia and for there to be such a passionate whiskey scene down there as well. Doesn't surprise me, but yeah, it's awesome to see, really.
yeah, no, it's so great, and we love supporting new, fun, cool, interesting brands. And if there's fun artwork, bonus. So thank
Yeah,
you so much, Hugo, for spending
no,
your
my
time
pleasure.
with
Thank
us,
you
your
guys. I really
afternoon,
appreciate that.
and
No, my
thank you
pleasure. Thank you so much,
everyone.
guys.
Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in, especially those in New South Wales and Queensland who I know have the state of origin running in the background.
Yeah, of course. Who's winning?
Uh, Well, Patrick's smiling and Scott's morose, so probably Queensland. No? Okay, I've got it wrong. Anyway.
Other way around.
But thank you
Okay.
so much, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you at the next virtual tasting.